Hello, hello. Andrew here from Offshore Audio, and welcome back to our How to Mix a Gig series. I'm taking you through my workflows on how I would go about mixing a gig in a small venue. This next episode is on how to EQ your speakers, your front of house speakers and your monitor speakers to get everything sounding as good as possible. If you haven't seen the previous episode, then I'll link to it down below, or maybe even up in the corner if I can manage to make that happen on YouTube. But without further ado, let's just get stuck in and see what to do. Okay, hey everyone, what's up? Now we're moving on to the second part of our How to Mix a Gig series. And what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to fine-tuning the speakers. Okay, so what's the aim of fine-tuning them with EQ? What's the aim of using the front of house EQ in a small venue like this one? First of all, I want to change the speaker's sound to make it suit the room, right? The speakers are going to sound different depending on where they're placed, and speakers all sound different from each other. And though I'm sure they're installed and they sound as good as they possibly can, I maybe want to alter them to sound pleasing to me as the engineer. It's of course my choice how the room sounds. The secondary aim, of course, possibly more important in a small venue like this, is to reduce the potential for feedback. Because the venue is so small, technically speaking, the microphones are so close to the speakers when they're on the stage, the potential for feedback before the volume of a vocal gets loud enough to be heard properly in the whole room is actually pretty high. So I want to go through and make sure that any frequencies that stand out that are going to cause trouble with the vocal are going to be dealt with. So let's dive in, right? What I've got here is I have a microphone, the vocal microphone that I'm going to use. It's a Shure SM58, really, really standard. So, toot, toot, toot. I have sound, that's great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the EQ, move to effects, find my graphic EQ, make sure it's turned on, open it up, and what I like to do is put the EQ settings on the faders here. And that means I can just navigate really quickly and turn frequencies up and down. And what I'll do is I'll turn up the vocal on the master here, just till I start to hear it feeding back. And usually I'll start slightly lower and I'll move my way up the spectrum, and I'll give it several passes until I think I'm satisfied with how the vocal on this microphone sounds in this room. So let's give it a go, right? Toot, 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 hey, 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 toot, 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 hey, 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 toot, 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 hey, 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 hey. So I'm starting to hear some feedback now, right? In the middle somewhere. So, hey, 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 toot, 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 toot. Maybe a little lower than that. So what I'm doing is I'm just pushing up the bands that I think might be causing the feedback frequency. Toot, 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 hey, 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 toot, 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 hey, 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 toot, 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 hey, hey. So 500 is a pretty bad offender there. So what I do, bring 500 down. Toot, 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 hey, 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 toot, 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 hey, 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 toot, toot, toot. And then I'll move through and I'll push the volume even more to see how far I can take it. Toot, toot. Now I hear something in the high end, right? Maybe that's like 3, 4, 5K, something like that. So toot, 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 toot. 5K is the offender. So I'll take 5K down. Still a little bit of ring there. Now, if I speak into this, you're going to hear there's something else slightly lower down. It's really common to have something like this in SM58s. Really common for SM58s to have some problems in the 2 to 3K region. Hey, 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 hey. It's actually a little higher than what I'm hearing, so let's go down further to about 1K. Hi, 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 hi. 800 sounds promising. Let's check Let's check frequencies next to it. Hi, 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 high. 800 is definitely worse, so we're going to take 800 down. Now notice I'm not taking them down a huge amount here because you don't need to. You're essentially rebalancing the signal, you're not ripping frequencies out. So 2, hey, hey, hey. Now I start to hear the low stuff and start to hear boom. That's maybe not so pleasing on a vocal. So let's go low again. Hey, 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 2, 2, 2, hey, 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 2, 2, 2, hey, 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 2, 2, 2, hey, 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 2, hey, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, hey. It's actually not too bad, so I'm going to leave it intact right now. My objective here is to do as little damage as possible to the frequency spectrum, right? Hey, hey, hey. Still something in the highs there, so hey, 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 hey. Might actually be 600 or 800 still. Hey, 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 hey. Yeah, so 600 needs to come down as well. Hey, 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 hey. You get the point. I'll move through this. Yes, you get the point. I'll move through the frequency spectrum and I will make sure that the speakers are sounding as good as they can with that microphone. Then what I'll do is I'll bring music in as well, right? And as I listen to the music, I'll think, does the EQ that I set with that vocal, does it suit the music, or have I taken out some important details here, right? So I've still got my laptop connected. I can just begin playing the music that I had playing earlier. Bring that in. And maybe, you know, I think there's like something going on in the upper regions here that I still think is a bit unpleasant, which I was thinking with the vocal, but it wasn't feeding back so much. So let's check it out. So I've just taken out between 2 and 3K. I've just taken it down just a little bit because it just made the system sound a little nicer with that music. And I would continue, I would just go between the two of these until I have something that I think sounds really great and usable for this gig. After that, what would I do? Well, I'd go up to the stage and I'd turn the monitor around, right? So now what? Now I'll move on to my monitors, okay? So back to my effects home. And usually you'll find your effects units set up, your graphic EQs set up for your monitors. If not, you just need to select the correct bus that they're going into. I'm on bus 2. And then check that you've got that. So now I can take down my front of house. I don't need that anymore. But I do need to hear my microphone in my monitor. Hey, hey, hey. And I see it on my screen. I know I've got the right EQ. So I'll make sure it's turned on, and then I'll get into it. And what have I done? I've turned the monitor on the stage to face me. Because it's a small venue, I can sort of simulate the stage situation of a microphone being near the monitor by facing the monitor towards me, and then just pushing it really hard to get the volume up and see what frequencies are feeding back, the relationship between this microphone and that speaker. Okay, so 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. I can just crank it up, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and you start to hear that feedback again. So same process, except now maybe I'm a little more concerned about the vocal than, you know, playback of music sounding good in that monitor. So I'm not going to play back music in the monitor. I'm just going to go with the vocal and see where I can get it to. If I can get the vocal to a point where it's really loud, so I've got loads of headroom, no feedback, and the artists are still happy with it. 2, 2, 2, 2. Much more low stuff here. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 300 main offender. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Some middling stuff as well that I can hear. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2.5 a little bit. 800 really bad. Low is like 160 is pretty bad as well. 200 is not so bad. And you want to leave body in your microphone, obviously, because that helps people hear it. And of course, likewise, push the volume. 5K also pretty brutal in this. I can see on my EQ here actually that it's still feeding back a lot in this low region. 500 was really bad. But yeah. That's what you get when you point it at the speakers. Hey. You'll begin to hear that multiple frequencies are feeding back at once. And usually that's when you know you're at the point where you can't really push it any further. So at this point, you've EQ'd your front of house speakers and you've EQ'd your monitor speakers. You know that you've done what you need to do to make the system sound good, to handle higher levels and not have feedback. So what now? Now let's get set up. Let's get our amps and our mics and our DIs set up on the stage. So I hope you found that helpful. As I said, this is my workflow and there are many ways of tuning a PA system. This is just a simple way to do it when you don't have a lot of EQ, and it's a great way of getting to know how a vocal reacts in the frequency spectrum. So as I said, I hope you found it useful, and if you did, like and subscribe and I'll keep them coming. You can leave me a comment down below and let me know how you go about EQing or tuning your speakers or your system in a venue that you work in. And if you want to know anything else about stages in general, I've made a workshop. You can get free access to that by clicking the link down below. I cover everything on the stage, from cables, connectors, amplifiers, speakers, crossovers, you name it. I've covered it in that workshop. So click on the link down below now and you can get access to that workshop for free. See you in the next one where we're going to cover setting everything up on the stage. Ta-ta.